Happy Monday, it's Miss Fella. So today we are going to work on circles. This is the next part of chapter 8, and it does involve taking some notes. So get your notes, get a piece of paper. You do need these formulas. Now some of you may remember them from middle school, but some people maybe not, I don't know. So first one is circumference, 2 pi r, or d pi. I'll explain what the r and the d are. And then area is pi times r squared. So I think most people know this, but just to review in case, a radius is this little line right here in the circle. It goes from the center out towards the like, I don't know, outside of the circle, the line, whatever. A diameter is when you cut the circle in half using 2 radiuses, or radii is the proper word, but I like to say radiuses sometimes. Anyway, so this whole thing is called a diameter. Diameter. Okay? If you don't know that, write it down. If you already know it, fine. All right, what's a little confusing to some people is the 2r versus the d. So I'm going to show you what that is. So let me erase and just go with my circle. Okay, if the radius is 5, what's the diameter going to be? 10. 5 plus 5, right? So if you're given a radius of 8, you could either plug that in here, 2 times pi times 8. And what's 2 times 8? 16. And a lot of times people just leave the pi as their answer. That's fine. If you want to put it in a calculator and do 16 times the pi button, or 3.14, you've all seen that before, you can do it that way. It's totally up to you. If I were to go to my circle and look at the diameter is 8 plus 8, which is 16. So if you want, you can just use diameter. If you want, you can just use radius. If you use radius, multiply it by 2. All right, now, what is circumference? Circumference is like perimeter. It's the distance around the outside, but not in degrees. Okay, so be careful. A lot of people go, oh, the circumference is 360 degrees. No, it's not. We're talking inches or centimeters or something like that. So if I actually had a string and put it in a circle, and I took a tape measure and went around and measured it, that's the circumference, not degrees. Very important, it's not degrees. Okay, so that's circumference. If you need to write that down, go ahead. You can rewind the video as many times as you want. The area then only uses the radius. So if you're given a question where it says, oh, the diameter is 10, well, you're gonna have to use 5. So be very careful, it depends on the question. If you're given the radius, plug it in. If you're only given diameter, you kind of got to cut it in half. All right, so say I had a radius of 5. My area is pi times 5 squared. And don't forget PEMDAS. We always do order of operations, which means exponents first and then multiply. Okay, so technically this is 5 times 5 is 25 pi. And again, this is one of those you get a choice. You want to just leave it? Go ahead. If you want to multiply it times the pi button, 25 times pi, it's like 78.53, whatever. All right, so the biggest question I get is, well, Miss Fella, do we leave it in pi or do we multiply it out? It's up to you. My answer keys always have both of these right here. I always have both of those, so it's totally up to you. And my question is, why do they put the pi first? I don't know. It seems silly. Why isn't it r squared then pi? Makes no sense, but that's how they do it. So that's basically the 2 formulas you're going to need for your assignment today that I'm going to give you soon. But first I want to give you a few examples so that when you're doing the assignment, you're not like, I have no idea how to start. So if it asks you for here, we'll just do a quick one. So you're given a circle, and you're told the diameter, I'm just going to say D. Diameter is 14. What you need to remember for area is that the radius is, what's half of 14? 7. Okay, Then on your worksheet, it's going to say circumference is blank, area is blank, whatever, and you have to figure it out. So you're literally just plugging them into the formula. So it should be pretty easy. Just people get confused, 14, 7, whatever you want to use. So circumference is 2 times pi times r, and 2 r's are 14. So basically it's just 14 pi. If you want to multiply it out, 14 times pi button is about 43.98. Again, your choice. You could do either one. Okay. Area, I definitely need the 7. All right, so if I'm given 14, don't panic. Just say, okay, I got to cut it in half. It's 7. So that way I can plug it into pi times 7 squared. 7 squared is 49, and you can leave it in terms of pi. That's what it's called. Or you can actually multiply it in a calculator. 49 times pi, about 153.9, something like that. Okay, so your choice. So that's the first part. Now, there are parts of the worksheet that are going to make you go backwards. You know, the kind where they give you like, the circumference is this, find the radius. So let's do a few of those. All right, so I'm going to, I think I can erase, right? Do you guys have enough time to copy that? If not, pause the video or rewind, whatever. Cool, okay, so moving on. Okay, here's a question, similar to the worksheet. Suppose that the circumference, I'm just gonna say C, is 16 pi. They want you to go backwards and give the diameter and give the radius. Okay, now you could just use logic, draw a little circle and say, well, if the diameter is 16, wouldn't that just be 8 and 8? So if you need algebra though, you could do 16 pi equals d pi, because that's where the formula comes from, and the pi's cross out and I get 16 equals the diameter. Either way, so my diameter in this case is 16, yes, it's that easy, and my radius in this case is 8. Okay, so it really is that easy if it's in terms of pi. What if it's not in terms of pi? What if it's a decimal? Then we have to use a little bit of algebra, so I'm going to show you an example of that. Okay, so I'm going to erase. Feel free to pause it, write it down, rewind, any of that. Okay, so circumference is 56.54, and it's going to say what is the radius. So now people go, oh, I don't know, how do I go backwards and get it? Again, algebra. Okay, so what I do is write the actual circumference, 56.54, and I know it came from 2 pi r, right? That's the formulas we just wrote earlier. So 2 pi r. Oops, did that show up? Yeah. Okay, and then what my goal is to get the r alone. So you can divide both sides by pi first, you can divide both sides by 2 first, totally up to you. Okay, so if I do 56.54 divided by pi, I get about 17.999. Let's just make that 18, equals 2 pi r. Oh, no, not 2 pi r, I already got rid of the pi. 2r. So I'm going to divide by 2, and I get the r equals 9. That's not showing up, is it? I'm running out of room on this. Okay, we'll just take a look at it. You did circumference, 56.54 equals 2 pi r. I got rid of the pi's. I divided, I got 17.99-ish. So 18 is 2r, because I didn't get rid of the 2 yet. But now I'm getting rid of the 2. So my radius is 9. Okay, so just work that out. The only other one is area. How do we go backwards? When we go backwards with area, we're going to do some square rooting. So I'm going to show you that really quick. Say you're given an area of 64 pi. Is that showing up? Yeah. Area of 64 pi. And you want to find the radius and diameter. What are you going to do? Using algebra, I would say, well, 64 pi came from the formula pi r squared. Agreed? Okay, So now I'm going to get rid of the pi's from both sides. And actually, in this case, they cancel, so I don't really have to divide by anything. I get 64 equals r squared. And what do I do to get both sides? Square root. Remember, square root both sides will give you the missing letter. So the square root of 64 is 8. So there's my radius. My radius is 8. If my radius is 8, what's the diameter? Think back to the picture. It's double, 16. Okay? So that's just some examples of how to do some of the going backwards, finding radius and diameter. And then I'm going to leave the rest up to you. And if you have questions on the rest of the questions that you're getting today, you can email me and I can explain it. But try and figure them out using all the notes you learned here today. Okay? So good luck and we'll talk soon. Stay safe. Bye.